Before the bridges came, before the city stretched its arms to the sky, there was a voice carried by the great Niger, whispered in the winds that danced through the Obunike caves, a voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
When politics unfolds, when decisions are made, we reveal the impact. Welcome to the Polity, your deep dive into the forces shaping governance, policies, and power. From the halls of government.
You were there. I was not there. Check the record. Wait now. You were there. I was not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They're feeling school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
So it's a brief morning here from the city of Onitsha, the commercial nerve center of Anambra State, and from this very city we'll bring you the Polity Thursday edition, this 7th day of May 2026. We thank you for being with us all this very while, and we hope you enjoy the break and build we brought you this very morning, where we talked about levies being collected by ANSEPA, because there have been different reports about increments in the ANSEPA levy, and of course, listening to different reports from these different areas, it shows that in some places increments have been recorded, while in some places the levy has been static. I mean, what it used to be. So from there, we have to get to the issues about politics and the governance on this very dial, Udara Radio 104.7 FM, and we thank you once again for always being there. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and I'm saying welcome to today's program. On the analysis, there's Tony Olisambeki. And good morning, Tony.
Good morning to you, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in Anambra. Good morning, in Onitsha. Good morning, in Oshiomhole. Good morning, everyone under the reach of our voice. Good morning, the good people. Good morning, the Ezibobi. You're welcome, teachers, artisans, farmers, transporters, market men and women, security agents, those who are doing good, not those who are cutting corners or doing opposite of what they have been sent to do. We welcome everybody, and we thank God Almighty for a day like this, today being Thursday, 7th of May in the year 2026. Of course, we know very well we are in a journey, and we thank God Almighty for a miracle of today, miracle of waking up and also miracle of seeing a beautiful day as we are. We remember also those who are challenged physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally, financially. Now when we're talking about challenges, not just physical challenges, emotional challenges, or psychological challenges, or mental challenges, those who are having financial challenges as well. We remember everybody is going to be well. Our prayer is that it will be better, it will be good. You're welcome, sit back and enjoy the program. Don't forget that we are back in our sanctuary where we profess the truth, where we profess and also pour the truth. Our words are our bounds. Dictum meam pactum. You're welcome.
Okay, so we need this very morning. Lots of things. Some of them are captured on the front pages of these very newspapers, while some of them are not captured. But we're going to bring you up to speed with some of these very issues. Like here in Anambra State, the screening for the commissioner's nominee is going to start today. Of course, it's going to happen in batches. They have been divided into 2 batches. The first batch is going to be screened today, while the second batch is going to screen them tomorrow. So we are believing that by next week, of course, we must have heard about the confirmation for these guys to begin their work. And outside Anambra State, okay, let's talk about it. Let's within Anambra State, because yesterday we talked about watching the space to see whether the senator representing Anambra North is going to defect to the NDC alongside some others who have defected. And yesterday, he announced his defection on the floor of the Senate, confirming that he has joined others in NDC. So the ranks of NDC is still swelling. And then the issue of fake news comes to bear this very morning. Yesterday, before we that was after we finished the program, I was seeing different reports on social media that about 50 persons were killed in petrol tanker explosion that happened at Uzodinma. Trying to use my contact to verify. At the end of the day, I couldn't get anything concrete, and I laid low. But guess what? This morning it's been confirmed that yes, there was actually a petrol tanker that overturned at Uzodinma. That happened on Tuesday night around 10 p.m. But nobody died in that. In fact, fire service was able to get to that place, control the fire, and no death was recorded. But the many people who are quick to go on social media to announce, they announced that 50 persons were killed in the explosion. And I'm asking myself, and also asking people, why are we always in the habit of passing information that is not verified? And many people even ran with it yesterday, talking about killings and what have you not. So please, it's just for us to know that whatever you see on social media, there's always a way to verify to be sure that it is true or not. Then we talk about another video that was made by Harrison Gwamnish, where he alleged that somebody who was abducted in Anambra State or kidnapped in Anambra State, that was in February 2024, by name Basil Ebuka. After he was kidnapped, then days after he was kidnapped, he was released after paying ransom, and later his vehicle was recovered by the police. So later he was called to come. He went to police headquarters in Amobia, and they confirmed that his vehicle was recovered, but only for him to return like a year after. It was discovered that his vehicle had been sold by the police. I do not know. The video is still on his page because he even mentioned names of people in the police headquarters in Abuja who confirmed to him that the vehicle had been disposed. But the fact is that the police promised to replace the vehicle that had been disposed. So we do not know actually the bad eggs who are in this system that get to make mess of the work of the police. Then outside this very thing, there are other things we can see in the front pages of newspapers, like the clash that happened between Senator Oshiomhole and Senate President. It happened on the floor of the Senate yesterday over, can I call that procedural issues? Then Plateau State is also in the news because another round of killings happened in that very state. And the bad thing is that people who were killed went for the burial of people who were murdered by these terrorists, and they came there again and killed people. Then talk about what the policy that has been launched by the federal government, where they said those who were conferred with honorary doctorate degrees, that they should stop using the prefix doctor in their names, and other things you are going to see on the front page this very morning. Interesting one too on the front page of Guardian is the story about our PHCs and how they've not been able to measure up to the health needs of people of Nigeria. So stay with us. We are going to bring the headlines and the analysis on this radio dial. That radio 104.7 FM on Nature.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for being there. You are listening to The Polity on the radio on the 4.7 FM. My name is Franklin Ebuketunu is on the analysis desk. And we have to begin with the headlines we have on the papers this very morning. As usual, we have 4 of them. And we begin with the Vanguard newspaper. The big story there says, worsening hardship, insecurity, poverty pushing Nigerians to brink. NLC warns. The story can be found on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. It has a rider, faults finance minister's insistence on fuel subsidy removal. Presidency won't bring back fuel subsidy. Oyedele. Gag order, court bars NBC from punishing broadcasters over opinions on page 10. We are not planning to wipe out Christians. Sultan on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. US to UN ask Iran to stop blowing ships in Strait of Hormuz. The story is on page 9 of Vanguard. Akpabio Oshiomhole clash over amended Senate rules on page 9. Xenophobic attacks. Nans threaten protests against South African firms in Nigeria on page 26 of Vanguard newspaper. Court orders temporary forfeiture of 9 properties linked to Timi Press Silver on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. And above the nameplate, beans, eggs, Gary prices rise monthly despite annual decline. That's by MBS on page 7. Many feared killed as gunmen attack mourners at mass burial in Plateau on page 6. PDP Wike Makinde's factions in deadly struggle on page 8. Yesterday we saw Wike having his usual monthly media chat where he spoke with a couple of media personalities, and they asked him some questions, and I saw that some critical questions were asked by the journalists. And at some point in time, the minister seemed to be rattled. And at the point, he made a statement about the Turaki faction of PDP, attempting to sell nomination forms. And in fact, he gave them a challenge for them to go ahead, go to any bank, to open any account in the name of selling nomination forms. And he said if they attempt that Turaki is going to be arrested, and even threatened to shut down any building that the PDP faction led by Makinde tries to use for any political activity. We do not know whether he's overstepping his bound or he's acting within the bounds of his function as the Minister of the FCT. Then let's get over to the Punch newspaper. Succession move, Makinde may pick Adekombi, adopt ADP on page 42. Amupito's security concern. Opposition kicks against troop deployment for 2027 elections on page 2. It has riders. Insecurity in various parts of Nigeria endangers fair elections in Ektiaman. Police commence threat assessment. Intelligence mapping ahead polls. And INEC partisanship biggest threat to credible elections of PDP. Okay, and the headline here says hantavirus scare triggers fresh COVID-19 style measures on page 2. Primaries, APC waives screening for Tinubu on page 32. I got 500,000 naira to bath spa worker with acid suspect on pages 4 and 5. Before coming to the studio, I saw a video of the owner of the spa, trying to tell her story while crying. And the story has it that, the spa owner, of course, a female, she was in a relationship with a guy. At a point, they fell off. And guess what? The guy went and arranged someone to bath her with an acid. And guess what they do? They booked a home service and invited her over. But because she wasn't charged, she sent her assistant to go there. And when the assistant got there, she was bathed with acid by accident, because the person who was contracted to do that didn't know that the person that came wasn't the target. And this is how he has condemned somebody to perpetual injury because of 500,000 naira. Then this story has it that court orders interim takeover of Savers 9 properties on page 22 of Punch newspaper. George Ok's Horrifying medical treatments in custody, page 42. Oil falls 11% as US Iran near. Okay, we have to retake this. Oil falls 11% as US Iran deal nears on page 23. Domestic refiners dump $3.13 billion crude over pricing dispute on page 33 of Punch newspaper. Then over to The Guardian. On Guardian newspaper, we have the big story that says 85% of PHCs in distress without doctors despite 55.4 billion naira budget in 4 years on page 6. Lagos George frees man detained for 10 years over improving defilement charge. The story is on page 8, and this speaks to the quest for quick dispensation of justice in Nigeria. Just imagine somebody who has spent 10 years in prison for a defilement charge that was not proven. What becomes of his life after spending 10 years on no conviction? Obaseki emerges visiting researcher at Boston University on page 7. FG moves to regulate award of honorary degrees by universities on page 4. CSOs seek extension of election timelines as insecurity, credibility concerns linger on page 8, or rather page 6. Presidency will not bring back fuel subsidy, Oyedele insists on page 4. Rivers government Wike Bika over trading governance for politics on page 7. Troops neutralize terrorism for as hoodlums kill mourners, others in Plateau on page 30 of Guardian. Then let's look at this very one that says, I will fix grid collapse in 100 days. Tewe vows. Tewe is the new Minister of Power. The story can be found on page 3. Power play in Senate as Akpabio Oshiomhole clash over 2027 intrigues on page 3. Tinubu upset by infighting among southern APC chieftains on page 3. From Guardian, we now get to Daily Sun. Enugu targets 660 megawatts coal-fired. Enugu targets 360 megawatt coal-fired power plant. Set July groundbreaking date on page 25. Plateau bleeds again. Scores killed as gunmen attack mourners at mass burial site on page 4. UK sanctions Russian-linked entities, 35 individuals over trafficking of Nigerian men and women. Okay, FG moves to curb abuse of honorary degrees, unveils research fund on page 27. Threat to broadcasters, Serap, NGE secure courts restraining order against NBC on page 4. Nigeria emerges Africa's most panned country as fraud calls hit 51% on page 25. And the last one says, rowdy session in Senate as Akpabio Oshiomhole clash over rule change on page 26. And the writer says, Senate President threatens to walk Oshiomhole out of chambers, invoking Order 20. So these are the stories we have on these very papers we have this very morning. We have to begin our analysis, but only let's quickly talk about this very clash between Oshiomhole and the Senate President Akpabio over the amendment made to the Senate Standing Rule regarding how someone can become presiding officer of the Senate. We made reference to it yesterday, where the amendment was made, and what was agreed upon was that subsequently, maybe for the next assembly, which is for the next dispensation, which is going to be 11th National Assembly, that for anybody to become Senate President or to become a principal officer in the House, the person must be a high-ranking senator. And when I say high-ranking, I mean the person must be serving in the must have served in this present 10 Senate and then return in the 11th Senate. And the person must have served in 2 consecutive National Assemblies. And this time around, we now saw that clash yesterday. So how would you reference that clash? Is it about who becomes what and who positions for what?
Well, you asked me what do I make out of that very clash. It's very, very shameful one. It's a shameful act, and I must say that it's all about ego, quest for power, and at the same time is attendant push. Because we've seen this from time to time. Everybody is looking out for what will be the next in his political journey. Everybody is concerned about what next. I'm talking about most politicians. Let me not say everybody, but most politicians, that is the concern. It is imperative. We saw a very disgusting and disgracing outing last time. And I understand very well that the Senate, of course, the Senate President position is the number 3 position if we are to equate it the way we usually rank it, or the way we usually rank such position. There is this thought that the Imo State Governor, Senator Hope Uzodinma, is eyeing that very seat. Let me put it that way. He has interest to become the Senate President, and he feels that Southeast must measure up. That Southeast, from the look of things, from the equation we have currently, has the position of Deputy Speaker. And for him, that position is belittling of a region like Southeast that has contributed so much to the progress and development of APC, the ruling party. Some people say that he has such eye because he cannot become the Senate President if he were not to be around when Senate will be inaugurated. He can as well do what Sarah Kennison did when his tenure as governor came to completion. What did he do? He makes sure that somebody from his zone becomes the deputy governor, and that person must be from the Senate. If somebody from his zone, from his senatorial zone, becomes deputy governor, and he comes from the Senate as a serving senator, what that means that he will leave that space open for him to run, to occupy, as a way of by-election. And if the person wins the governorship election, Hope knows that he has such opportunity. But if you look around, there are many people from Hope zone who would not want to be the deputy governor. Many of them. We know how the Olu zone is usually constituted of. They have big wigs. I wonder who we will tell to become deputy governor. He will run to become deputy governor of Imo State, but that's by the way. Outside that, then to protect his seat, Akpabio felt that the best way to limit Hope Uzodinma from attending or from having this thought of becoming Senate President would be to amend the laws. Amend the standing rule of the Senate.
Do you think he was the engineer of the amendment? Is he eyeing to return and continue serving as Senate President?
Maybe you've not listened to him. Most time he visits Akpabio Northwest, when he was showing support for Governor Emo Uno, and he said he is going to go for the second term. And in that very gathering, political rally, it was stated that they should also support Akpabio for him to continue serving as Senate President. It's no more news. It happened in one of the political gatherings, in one of the political rallies held in Akpabio. It was an endorsement rally for the governor of Akpabio State, who is also going for second tenure. And it was in that rally that it was also stated that there should be another support for Akpabio to continue serving as the Senate President. But I know many people from Southeast that are making their case that a region like Southeast cannot be relegated to deputy speakership position. a region that started with the position of Senate President over years in the Fourth Republic. We saw that in 1999. Evans and Warren. From Evans went to Chibok Kadibo. From Chibok Kadibo to Pius Anyim. That was what concluded that very Senate. The 4th Senate. Then you move into the 5th Senate, Adolphus Wabara. When he was removed, and we had Ken Namani, who took over. And that was how the 5th Senate ended. Of course, you have to go into the 6th Senate. I don't want to talk about the time of David Mark, but the point I'm trying to make is very clear. And Akpabio and his friends in the Senate, they are trying to use the Senate standing orders to mortgage that position. But I said it can be challenged in the courts because there is undercurrent. If you are to make such rule, you must allow a full Senate cycle.
So for somebody to challenge that, would it be the serving senators who are going to go to challenge it, or the ones who are going to come in and perhaps when they schemed out, they might decide to go to court?
Well, you must have locals to challenge that. Oshiomhole can challenge that. But I know very well that the Senate would also want him to exhaust internal resolution mechanism of the Senate before he can do that. Outside that, they may also try to invoke their powers. And also maybe, because I remember when Senate President was telling Akpabio that if he continues to make the Senate unruly...
Akpabio telling Oshiomhole?
Sorry.
Okay.
That if he continues to make the Senate unruly, definitely that they will invoke the necessary provisions of their orders to ensure that he's sanctioned. It is important that would also... he called on Senator Zakalo to clearly read out those provisions of the law or the order for him. Just like I say, the Senate standing rule can be challenged in courts, mainly through a constitutional and also judicial review. Because the person challenging the rule must choose locus standi. I've stated that. So their rule is not the law, but they have the powers to make their rules. And they will not make their rules in such a way that it will conflict with the provisions of the Constitution. Because if you look at that very rule, where the eligibility of contesting for Senate President is now anchored on serving 2 consecutive terms. That's not what the Constitution says. The Constitution says that they shall elect amongst themselves someone who will be the Senate President. That's what the Constitution says. The eligibility criteria stated out in the Constitution is among yourselves. They shall among themselves. And now you have not narrowed it, you must serve 2 consecutive terms. That is against the Constitution. For me, it is unconstitutional. But it can be challenged. I cannot go on and challenge it. It will be somebody who is also a member of the 10th Senate that can say no, that this is unconstitutional. That Constitution has given us such very space for us to elect amongst ourselves. Remember, we know the political undercurrent. Who being a former governor, being close to the president, and with so strong support of Mr. President, Akpabio sees him as a rival.
Okay, so let's get to what happened yesterday on the floor of the Senate, because ministerial nominee for power, Joseph Tebwe, yesterday he stunned lawmakers with a firm commitment to stabilize Nigeria's fragile electricity grid within his first 100 days in office. Of course, he went for screening yesterday. It was in the course of the screening that questions were being thrown, and one of his responses is the fact that he's going to strive to ensure that he gets to stabilize national grid within 100 days in office. And he went ahead to pledge immediately that he's going to take some steps to ensure that the power is stabilized, because he has done things in that very area. I think we have to hear him first, and then we take up the conversation and see the possibility of what he said yesterday, whether he was just speaking at the spur of the moment or making sense.
Distinguished senators, these engagements have given me an insider understanding of how government work. Distinguished senators, with your permission, the Senate President, sir, let me begin with a simple truth. Power is not just a sector. It is foundation of productivity, dignity, and national confidence. And by no means, I'm not taking this as a simple responsibility. This is one of the biggest daunting tasks that we're faced with as a nation. For decades, we have had plans, reforms, investments, transitions, yet the lived experience of many Nigerians remain inconsistent. Supply, estimated billing, and uncertainty. Mr. President's nomination of my person to lead as Minister of Power, I don't take it simply and I don't take it lightly. I believe it is based on my determination as an individual, my reform experience, and my ability to take and foster tough decisions. There may be small pain, we will get there. Because we are going to have a disciplined approach to addressing this. I'll come and present to you what our plan is. With clear milestones. If you don't see this in 3 months, it means you won't see 6 months. So you must see the 3 months and you must hold those accountable for it. When we put those things together in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we'll come to you and present them to you. So we will put a stop to that leakage, to that bleeding, and all the challenges that we have. Market reflective tariffs. We advise government to charge market reflective tariffs. When we get there, the industry has to be mature enough. Because power is an essential commodity. It's in the round of many issues that are reflected in the liquidity issues that we have. Today, Gencos can't even pay adequately for their gas supply. Because also there are shortfalls. Today, we have an estimated almost 6 trillion debt in the sector. Government has done very well. I have DG of PPE here. I have special advisor to the president on power here. A lot of work has been done. Even 73.3 trillion to bond. Even when the industry is struggling, under 3.3 trillion is a lot of pressure.
Okay, so among other things he said yesterday, Tebwe said his immediate focus would be to, stabilize the national grid, get to enforce discipline across the electricity value chain, and then he's going to pursue aggressive reduction of systematic leakages that have crippled sector performance for years. And he's saying this thing at a point in time when Nigerians are experiencing poor supply of electricity. Nigerians can connect to this because in the places where they live, they know what the experiences have been in the past 3 months or 4 months or thereabout. If you compare what it was last year and what it is now, you could be able to see the difference in supply that people have been enjoying and people have been complaining. So, can we start from asking, who is Tebwe? What is his antecedent? And maybe that can take us to whether we can take his word seriously or whether it could be in the realm of political rhetoric.
Well, Joseph Olasukami Tebwe, you asked who is he and then where is he from? He read his biography yesterday. He's from Oyo State. I know he was born in Oyo Town and he's also of Ibadan ancestral descent, specifically from the Jegede compound in the Labo area of Ibadan. We know very well that he's an engineer, there's no doubt. And he has been in the industry for some time. He's to replace the minister who has vowed to oust or probably to replace Makinde in Oyo State. Well, let's maybe look at similar promises in the past. If you look around from 2015, when APC government took power, down to 2026 is about 11 years. And if you look around, we've had different ministers of power, and they came with different promises. First was Babatunde Fashola, who was there from 2015 down to 2019. He was Minister of Power, Works and Housing combined together. And we knew very well the promises he made during the campaigns prior to 2015. He was once quoted to have said, if you don't provide electricity for you in 6 months, still not things like that. But he denied it. He said he never made such statements. But that's by the way. If you look around, he was confronted with major problems in the sector. He worked towards improving our generation, ending of estimated billing through mass metering, maybe the stabilization to an extent of the national grid, the expansion of transmission infrastructure, and possibly resolving gas supply bottlenecks affecting power plants. Nevertheless, under his tenure, the issue of Siemens power discussions began. The deal that was executed between 2018 to 2019. Even the transmission capacity and meter asset provider map was introduced, that very scheme. But in all of this, grid instability and low generation persisted. He left that very ministerial position in 2019 and focused on works and housing. Buhari appointed Saleh Maman. That was in 2019. Maman was there from 2019 to 2021. He made a promise before the Senate that he will ensure stable electricity nationwide. It was one of his promises. I'm talking about Saleh Maman. And he also said that he would ensure the completion of the Presidential Power Initiative, that is the Siemens project. He talked about rural electrification, that our people in the rural areas, they were completely cut out. That he would ensure that the project is back again. He talked about issue of grid collapse, that he will end grid collapses. And he will also see to the increase in the generation and transmission capacity. He made these promises before the Senate, Solomon. But when he began his administration, he was so much focused on the Siemens deal, the one that late Abba Kyari, facilitated. The rural electrification projects many of us cannot see and witness. And the transmission upgrade we cannot see. Because under him, Nigeria had persistent outages, slow reforms as he promised. He left that very position in 2021. He was replaced by Abubakar Aliyu. I remember the same promises were made. I don't need to go and remind us about the promises made by Abubakar Aliyu. Issue of grid was mentioned, rural electrification was mentioned, expansion of transmission and also distribution capacities. These things were mentioned. But we didn't see much. We didn't see difference while he was there, Abubakar Aliyu. Then he left. That was the last minister under Buhari, Abubakar Aliyu. When Tinubu came on board, when he came into power, Adebayo Adelabu was picked by Tinubu. And if you look around, he made the same promises. Deliver reliable, accessible, and sustainable. The same promises. It is what Tebe is talking about now. He made the same things. He recycled what is being circulated before now. But we saw how many Nigerians started calling him Minister of Darkness. I wasn't the one that called him. If you go on social media, you see where many Nigerians were calling him Minister of Darkness. In fact, they changed the ministry to Ministry of Darkness. Because we saw persistent grid collapse in just 2026 alone, from January to March. Do you know how many times the grid collapsed? It is very, very disturbing and troubling. And he preached everything. And he said there was a time there's a debt the government is owing the gas suppliers over 3 trillion and whatever was branded as being the reason why we are having such persistent collapse. and that this will be settled, that the electricity is subsidized. It said quite a lot of things that we are having as a challenge. But in all of this, we had more darkness as expected. In fact, it was under his tenure, we had this issue of Band A, Band B, different bands. And it was sure that the Band A will be having at least 20 hours of electricity. Then the Band B will be having about between 12 hours or 15 to 12 hours of electricity. Of course, this is we are categorized, saying that it was a strong intent, it was purely deliberate, it was intentional to change the electricity story about this country. What we saw the bans, I don't know if we still have the bans or we are bandless. That's aside that. The point remains that we cannot continue to recycle these promises. We know very well that if we had such Siemens deal, I have said it many times that electricity is capital intensive project.
So are you not taking his words seriously? Is that what you are saying?
Why would I take it? Even those before him made those statements and nothing came out of it. And they want me to take that.
Maybe those who came before him didn't have the same background like him. I think, for instance, the immediate past Minister of Power, Adelabu, he was in the banking system, an accountant by training. He worked for CBN at some point in time. Now, you look at Tebwe, who we have now, Joseph Olusukomi Tebwe. Currently, he's the Director General and Global Liaison for the Nigerian-China Strategic Partnership. And before this, he had worked with KPMG. He was a former senior partner and head of advisory services at KPMG Africa, where he led wide-ranging initiatives in fiscal policy reform, institutional transformation, and governance. And also, his experiences span across areas like significant engagement with the power sector, precisely in regulatory and institutional reform, involving agencies like the one we call NEC, that is Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, and also Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading Company, MBET. Now, given that he has a very background, and maybe having worked in the area of regulation in this very sector, maybe he has an idea of what the problem is, and he might be speaking from the point of knowledge. Hence, he's confident that he can address the issue of grid collapse in 6 months. In 3 months.
You asked what is grid collapse and what are the causes. He hasn't assumed office. He hasn't done any audit. He hasn't done any assessment. He hasn't done any maybe evaluations to ascertain what the problem is. You've not even seen the problem. You have been promising that you're going to solve it in 100 days. You've not even, because if I were him and possibly I was to be interviewed by the Senate, I will rule out before the Senate what the problems are, because I must have done my investigation. Okay. I must have done my research.
So do you know what the problems are? Do you know what has been the albatross when we talk about power in Nigeria? What has been that elephant in the room? Why Nigerians have not been able to get that power that they need for industrialization and national growth?
The truth is, the power sector needs total reforms, comprehensive reform, a total change, a rebirth. That's what it needs. And that cannot come from somebody having this background of that, or having served this at this place, or having served at that place. It wouldn't change. The sector is gulping for investment, either from private investors or from government funds. Some of the things we have there, they are worn out, they are antiquated, they are bucolic, they are rustic. The truth remains, just like I've always said. Are you going to talk about the grid itself? Do you know the components of grid? There are so many things that constitute grid. When we talk about grid, it's talking about the transmission lines, the interconnectivity of the transmission lines, the transmission of powers, the substations, even the generation plants, because they feed these transmission lines. I remember before the 1960s, these things were in isolation until we started major interconnectivity. That was after our independence, and that was why we formed the NEPA in 1972. Before NEPA, it was Power Corporation of Nigeria. But the point I'm trying to make is we have enormous problem, and some of these things were put there many decades ago. The transformers we have at substation, are you going to talk about 33 or 132 kV transformers, or even 33 kV or 132 kV transformers, even 11 kV transformers? Some of these things are old. There are so many of them. Of course, the country needs over 1,000 of them. We are talking about high capacity transformers that can step power down to a level where they can be distributed. We have a lot of problems. Many equipments there, they are obsolete. They keep failing. The transformer overheats. The protection system strip. Entire area, of course, we keep having vandalization of the supply to power generation, plants, the thermals that we use to fire electricity.
So going forward, Tony, the issue of power has been removed from the exclusive list. It's now in the concurrent list. That means that both the state and federal governments can, do things in this very area. And we have seen some states taking the lead. I think Enugu State was the first subnational government to take the lead by going to create a state regulatory body that is going to regulate electricity in that very state. And now they have a power company, a subsidiary of EDC, being in charge of electricity in Enugu State. That same EDC has also created some other subsidiary company for the southeastern state. In Anambra, First Power is there. Anambra also has state regulatory power regulator because they have now moved in to see how they can on their own generate power, control, distribution and what have you not. Now, for Enugu, which is the example we're going to go to now, yesterday the governor announced that the state is planning a 660 megawatts coal-fired power plant in Enugu State. He's saying that by July this year they're going to do the groundbreaking, and they are expecting that in 1 year is going to be ready. So what do you think about this? Is this something that is going to work? And also having in mind that some people are having some concerns about using coal to generate power, but the state is saying that the sulfur content of the coal is mild and it cannot be said to be anti-environment. So let's start from there.
Well, if you ask me, one thing about power, just like we've said many times, of course, it has three broad categories: the generation, transmission, and distribution. Yes, it is no more under exclusive legislative list. It is now under concurrent list. What it means that the states can legislate. That's why we've seen some state assemblies legislating on setting up their own independent power regulators, as we have seen in some states you mentioned. That having been said, it's one thing to talk about generation. The one you mentioned is talking about generation. Enugu State about 650 megawatts. At least he's talked about that. Then did he also talk about the transmission? Because you must, for me, isolate it from national grid. You must isolate it from national grid if you want to serve the people of Enugu State. Because are you going to use the infrastructure of the transmission company of Nigeria to do that? Because if you try it, we are saying that the infrastructures are so weak, they are poor, they need replacements, they keep collapsing, they keep tripping off. Are you going to use that? Are you going to also talk about building Enugu State transmission company brand new with this it is expensive. It is expensive. If you are told how much 11 kVA transformer costs, or possibly, I don't need to start saying some of these things, because that's why he is talking about Enugu State. Of course, I'm not going to discourage him, but I know very well that he needs to, of course, he has started something, but the most important thing, he needs to see if there could be investment in the pipeline away from that. Because if you had looked at what Siemens, if we had followed this Siemens deal religiously as expected, the targets they were categorized in three phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The phase 1 was to raise operational electricity capacity to about 7,000 megawatts operational, not installed capacity. Then the phase 2 was to increase that operational capacity to about 11,000 megawatts. Then the 3 phase was to eventually reach about 25,000 megawatts operational, not installed capacity. And they say that this will be done by ensuring new transformers, mobile substations, the upgrade of transmission lines, and replacing some of these ones that are worn out, modern grid equipment, smart monitoring systems, better control systems, and even improved distribution networks. These are some of the things that the Siemens deal targeted. And also looking at, because you can't upgrade, you can't do this without also having new power plants. Yes, you talk about because we've been feeding with Chiroro, the one in Chiroro, Kainji Dam, and so many of them. The point I'm trying to make here is very simple, very clear. We know why the deal failed, and a lot of things because we could not match our works with action, and of course we have to make some counterpart funding. So these things happened.
What led to the failure of that very? Because we know that deal was spearheaded by Abba Kyari under the government of President or late President Muhammad Buhari. It was worth $2.3 billion US dollars. And some persons were trying to link the stall in that project to the death of Abba Kyari, saying that it was like a dream or a project that he was personally pursuing, that his death brought about disruptions and Nigeria not being able to meet up with some of the obligations. That was why it's been stopped up till now.
Well, of course, if you look at the project, that deal is, well, extremely expensive, no doubt, because power is expensive. I've always said it. But the deal was anchored. In fact, it was predicated on complex financing arrangements involving the Nigerian government, the German export credit facilities, and also counterpart funding. There were delays in releasing funds from our own part because we have to contribute something to that. And eventually we are unable to do that. We are unable to match our ways with action. Of course, if we are part of those that put out a deal, we would have used our crude as a way of funding our own part, our raw crude. There's no point having the raw crude when you can also use it as a funding tool. Because if you look at it, are you going to borrow? During the time of Buhari, we are borrowing. The revenue to debt ratio, you know what it were? About 97%. So whatever money we make through transaction and through sales of our crude, this thing goes into debt services. It was a nightmare. It was nightmarish. The point is, we would have used our crude, even natural gas, or even a gas reserve. We need electricity. It's capital intensive, no doubt. Because you are going to look at, for you to build a modern grid with mobile substation, smart monitoring systems, you know the cost. Well, let's not go there. That's why I say that Egypt did it. Of course, if you look at South Africa, I don't want to talk about South Africa. Egypt did it. They changed a lot of narratives. A country like Nigeria with over 240 million in population cannot generate operationally 3,000 megawatts. Where at least we need about 60,000 megawatts. It's just like you are in need of 60,000, somebody's giving you 3,000. And even that 3,000 is not even steady. That's what it means. That's why over 60% of the population, they are in darkness. And nothing can move. The informal sector is driven by electricity, energy. And that informal sector seems to be crippled. And you can't be talking about revenue generation, taxing people when you know that a whole big sector has completely collapsed. Is very disturbing. Is for me, if any government comes in power, the first thing they should address is the issue of electricity. There is so much potential untapped.
Okay.
We can't go on and keep talking about this. We know the truth. We know some of these things.
Okay, so let's also see how Imo State is going to pursue its own, the light up projects they are doing. The Orashi Powers project, which I learned that it has private backing with about $200 million. So let's see how they are going to put all this together match actions with or wet with actions. Let's see whether we can have an improvement in electricity supply, because if we have stable power supply, it's going to do a whole lot for business in Nigeria. It's going to affect a whole lot. So that's what we are hoping in the coming time. Then let's get over to another headline, which is on the front page of Ghana newspaper. It says Tinubu upset by infighting among Southern APC chieftains. Now, this is talking about how the push for 2027 year election, how it's creating infighting among APC chieftains, in the southwestern part of Nigeria, or let's say in the southern part of Nigeria. And it's all about power tussle, who is going to control, who is going to determine who gets what in what format. Of course, they say politics it's about who gets what and how. And now we have seen some APC members who are doing this very infighting. Don't forget that the Mr. President has already given governors the authority to have control over who gets to pick what ticket and what have you not. But we have seen some dissension, some level of dissatisfaction among some APC chieftains. I'll give instance. If you go to Ebonyi State, not less than 3 big financiers of APC in that very state have resigned the party because the party was chasing towards consensus, and the manner it was handled was not acceptable to them. If you go to some other places in some other states, you also see the dissension, except in Lagos City, where seems to be this kind of this quietness, where people have settled that there is a Lord who is going to decide on how things run in that very place. So this very disquiet or this disagreements and dissatisfactions we are seeing in the APC now, do you think that it is going to in any way generate a kind of mutiny against APC junior election?
Well, we know the infighting cuts across different states in the southern part of the country, but I'm going to come back to the question whether it could also generate a kind of mutiny. But the truth remains that it's expected when you have people going for a particular thing. It's a case of interest. What you want is exactly what I also want. That is it. What you want is what I want. And I cannot let you just take a whole of it without me having a role or probably a portion being given to me. Politics is a game of interest, I've always said. So it's expected, but the point is, why is it so much in the southern part of the country? If you look around in Edo State, the governor Monday Bebelo and his allies and loyalists of former Governor Senator Oshiomhole, they have been having this infighting with another group of APC. Izzy Yamu was making statements. Remember Izzy Yamu? He said he hasn't left APC and all that there will be fair primaries, that he is not guaranteed of a return ticket and stuff like that. Of course, everybody's trying to take the issue of Mr. President campaign to be the leader. Everyone wants to lead. The point is, there was a kind of let me put it this way. If you go back to, let's leave Edo State and then go to Imo State, the same fighting. Let's leave Imo State and go to Abia State, the same fighting. Benjamin Carlo and Ojuda Carlo is engaged in supremacy battle. Who is going to be the leader of the party in that very state? If you look at some of these scenarios, what does it depict? What does it say? It's very unfortunate, but the point is that it's expected as well, because they are all gunning for the same thing another person wants. For me, that's what they call is the case of a race competition.
So is it like a problem for the party, or is just the normal things we see during electioneering?
Well, it's the kind of things we do see during the electionary period. There's no party that do not have their own share. Most parties have their own share. The point is...
So is politics meant to be contentious in this very manner? Or are we talking about Nigerian brand that has made it to become this very contentious, whereby people go for one another's jugular during the election hearing?
Well, it's a game of interest, just like I said earlier on. You are in this position, you're eyeing the other one. We are seeing what is going on in Imo State, where the governor is eyeing to replace Senator Osita Izunaso. And for him to be the Senate president, Osita Izunaso wouldn't need to be in the Senate. And he cannot accept to be the deputy governor based on his political trajectory, his political rank. He will not accept to be the deputy governor to make way for the governor, Uzodinma, to be the Senate president as he wished. But remember, he has to be in the Senate first for him to talk about being the Senate president. And it is actually causing a lot of ripples in Imo State. And if you go around to the Southwest, issue of consensus, zoning, governor aspirant tensions, these things are tearing the Southwest. It's tearing the Southwest. If you go to Lagos State, we saw where Babajide, someone, of course, they have endorsed Hamza. Because there are some other people that believe that's not the case, that it is not their zone, it's not their turn. The point I'm trying to make is it's a game of interest. There are places you say zoning this or zoning that.
So do you see those who are dissatisfied perhaps teaming up somewhere to work against the interest of the APC?
Well, they may not work against the interest of the APC, just like because they have a national leadership, they are the ruling party, they are in power. If they were not to be in power, there are those who would also sabotage that. Because if you work against the interest of the party, you have Mr. President to contend with.
So are you saying that politicians we have now, especially those who are within the APC circles, that they are afraid of Mr. President?
Of course they are.
Why would they be afraid of Mr. President?
Because he is in charge. He told the former governor of Cross River State, Ben Ayede, do not go for the Senate. We saw his cry. He said, Mr. President, I have done this for you. I have done that for you. I have been in political limbo. I have been in political wilderness. Even for emergency in 2023, look at the role I played. He was not rewarded with anything. He was not given anything. And he is bidding to come out and vie for senatorial position. But he made us to understand that Mr. President told him, don't contest without any reason. And he made a passionate appeal for Mr. President to see his contributions, to see his efforts in stabilizing APC in Cross River State, in making APC what it is, and also in his emergence as the president. But he said, Mr. President, I will not disobey you. I will align with what you said.
So what are they afraid of? Because during the time of former President Goodluck Jonathan, of course he was the president, he controlled power, but people teamed up. The Galadimas, the Bubas, and what have you not. They teamed up and worked against him, and they were able to oust him from power.
Well, Jonathan is a kind of he's a gentleman, no doubt. During his time as a president, he was so calm. He was so gentle. And that was why so many people were able to take certain advantages. In fact, the wife was so vociferous. There were times some people would even call on the wife. I remember when Martin Eleshi and Dave Umahi were having problem. Dave Umahi ran to the wife of the president, Patience. And it was the wife of the president that handed PDP structure to Dave Umahi to emerge as the governor against the whims and caprices of Martin Elechi, who was the incumbent governor at that time. The same thing happened in River State. But just that Jonathan later blessed Wike. But Wike first ran to the wife. It happened in so many states. Jonathan was more like, I don't want to get involved. But you can't compare Jonathan and President Tinubu. President Tinubu is a field marshal in politics. He's a field marshal. Jonathan, I would say that Jonathan was just a major if we had to use army ranks to equate their influence in politics. Jonathan could be a major not even up to a general. But Tinubu is a field marshal, and he knows how to get whatever he wants. That's why he told Ben Ayade, don't run. Ben Ayade made a passionate appeal and said he will comply with what Mr. President told him. And he has told his supporters, please, let us be patient with Mr. President. That's what he told his supporters. And there are so many of them that will do the same. I remember, Buhari was very close to being a field marshal, just that he wanted to play maturity. I remember when Buhari told Adams Oshiomhole your time was up as the APC national chairman. He did not contest it. Why did he go to court when there were plans to get him ousted until Mr. President told him, step aside? And it was so. During the time of Jonathan, I remember when the governors were pushing that Uzodinma should stay out as the national chairman of the party. Jonathan was the darling. The governors were so vociferous. So many of times they are ganged up against Jonathan. But he allowed those things to be. The point I'm trying to make is that
good number of issues that have been identified. The issue of lack of doctors, they're not there. Incentives are not there. They talk about facilities, basic health clinics, even good health centers, that all these are not in place despite the fact that money has been spent. And when we talk about these primary health centers, they are the ones that are very closest to the people. People are the grassroots, they're the ones that can easily access. And the question has been, why is it difficult to improve primary health care centers in Nigeria, knowing that Nigerians need health just the way they need air to survive?
Well, we are going back to the same Nigerian problems and factors. Well, the truth is, you have to begin with the capital component of the health budget. Very poor. We have a population that is growing astronomically, but we don't have certain policies legislated upon. Most times our policies are not legislated. I have mentioned this many times. The difference between us and some Western countries, once they have policies, they make these policies to be laws, backed by laws, where there will be frameworks to challenge non-performance, non-commitments, even in court. But that's by the way you ask why these things are the way they are. Nigeria, of course, I know very well, has approximately about 30,000 to 34,000 primary health care facilities nationwide. But if you go by what we have, of course, we have about 774 local governments, and we also have about 17,600 political wards. And if you look at the current policy, which is to target at least one functional primary health care center per ward, that's maybe, but if you look around, many of them are not functioning. In fact, about 85% of them are in distress.
Now, if you go around the country and decide to do a study, you will see common denominators among all the health centers we have. Things you are going to see will be things like not having doctors, not having midwives, not having medicine, not having qualified medical personnel, not even good facilities. You also see that some of them don't even have water or electricity, and people are meant to access healthcare from here. There was one study that was done by Budget Nigeria. They did a study, a kind of a survey where that was in 2025. They did the primary health care system survey. At the end of the day, they were able to point out deep structural weaknesses across the country. And look at what they found that. They were able to track 5,099 primary health centers across Nigeria and the FCT. And they found that 85% of these facilities did not have a doctor or a physician. 61% had no nurse or midwife. 38% lacked access to water. 40% had no functional laboratory, while only 51% had electricity. If you look at these things are things that can be fixed without having legislation. So why this difficulty in doing this? Is it about will, or is it about not taking people's health seriously?
One is about not taking the health of the citizens seriously, because anybody who is serious about anything will show determination, will show strong commitment, and these things are lacking. If you ask me, you just rule out what the figures are, where 85% of these primary health care centers, they have no doctors, no physicians, and you also mentioned that about 61 of them lack nurses or midwives. And if you look at what the World Health Organization put out, that Nigeria faces a massive doctor shortage, that our ratio is as poor as 1 doctor to 6,000 patients, which would also culminate about 9,000. 1 doctor to about 1 to 9,000. That's what the World Health Organization, by their figures, I'm quoting their figures, that the shortage as we have now is as poor 1 to 6,000. But their ideal is about 1 doctor to about 1,600. That's like the list, that as bad as it be, 1,600. Oh, sorry, as bad as it be, 1 to 600, not 1,600. That doctor to patient ratio as bad as it could be, 1 doctor to 600 patients. I don't know if you understand me. But currently Nigeria is having about 1,000 to 6,000, which could also get to 1,000 to 9,000, because we know the Japa syndrome. And the point is, it's all about funding. For how many years? From 2022 to 2025, you budgeted about 55.44 billion. In how many years? As capital, I'm not talking about the current. I'm not talking about salary payment and all that. I'm talking about the capital component. And it tells you what would this do? How many things can this afford? And many Nigerians, 77% of Nigerians rely on primary health care centers for some of these ailments. 77% of the population, in what they rely upon, 85% of that they rely upon, they don't have doctors and physicians.
No, so sometimes when you check why they don't have doctors, it's because these places are in interior places. Maybe they are in villages, and in these villages they don't have the facility that can enable life. And some of them will want to go to the city, and they keep on asking, is there no way government can provide incentive that can make these doctors and midwives or nurses to be able to stay in those interior places or in the rural areas and be able to offer services to these very people? Take for instance, if a doctor that works in the city earns like 200 naira, those who work in rural areas, can they earn 400 naira? Can they have facilities like they have residential areas provided for them with water, things that can help them to be able to survive in that area? Because what we have seen is that most times they are sent to these rural areas. By the time they stay there for like few months, they get transferred, or if they even resign and go to some other place.
Well, just like I said earlier on, we can do some of these things, but the question is, we keep looking at funds. We appropriate big money for our politicians. National Assembly in a year, how many are they? Probably the senators are 109, the House of Rep members 360, and if you put the figure, that should be around 400 something, right? Are you getting there? That's good. 400 something. Now our budgets, I don't want to pick any year, roughly about 300 billion for National Assembly. And we know very well that in that amount, there are things they will do for the public, like their zonal intervention projects. Some of these things are also embedded. Well, leave that. You talk about health for 220 million people. The capital component you are budgeting, I don't know, because from the figures I've been looking around here, we are told that the capital component, the money actually released about 55 billion, or thereabout, between 2022 down to 2025. I'm not talking about the recurrent. But let me take you to South Africa, where issue of health insurance, issue of primary health care centers, and things we are talking about, where they are taking very seriously.
Okay, so before you go there, Tony, we have a commercial breakdown to attend. Okay. Once we return, we take a peep into that South African experience and then open the phone lines. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Searching for a place to eat good food and still enjoy premium relaxation? Stanley World Agwoka got you covered. Welcome to Stanley SFF Restaurant and Operiche Lounge Agwoka, where taste meets class. From hot, delicious local dishes to mouth-watering African and continental cuisines, pepper soup, grilled meat, rice, drinks, and many more. Everything is fresh and satisfying. Step into Operiche Lounge, a calm, classy environment to chill, hang out, and unwind. Perfect for friends, dates, and after work relaxation. Chop well, drink well, and feel cool morning, afternoon, and night. Stanley SFF Restaurant and Operiche Lounge, a haven for good food, great vibes, top security, and steady comfort. For further inquiry, call 0814-565-6920 or 0813-855-8009.
Nebek Real Estate brings you opportunity that grow with you. Greenfield Estate, just 1 minute from Owerri Road. King's Court Estate in Lisa, opposite Admiralty University. Purity Garden and Classic Estate, Asaba, just 10 minutes from Asaba International Airport. Ikenga Luxury Estate, Ojoto, 7 minutes to Electrical Dealers Market, Obosi. Nebek. Invest today, gain tomorrow. Visit us at 25 Oka Road, Onisha, beside Mandela, or Asaba Office 21 and 22, Brain Oil Mall, 295 East Road, opposite Lion House, Asaba, or call us on 080-3265-7455 or 070-1607-8648 or visit us at www.nebedgroup.com.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You're listening to the Polity.
Gwam ihe si na ọbụghị naanị ya mụtara nwa a na-apịwa ọnụ.
Udala.
Ịka nọkwa n'Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Emetụkwa n'igwe redio aka.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Yes, you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and it's time for you to get involved in this very discussion. But before that, let's conclude what we left hanging. So, Sonny, let's manage like 2 minutes to talk about that South African experience when it comes to primary health care before we get to the phone lines.
Just like I was about saying, of course, if you look at the money involved in the case of South Africa, of course, about 25.7 trillion naira. That's what they budgeted for health. And a large chunk of that goes into primary health care service. If you talk about the health insurance, that's for me, my experience, when you talk about things like health insurance, any form of insurance. There was a day I was making a study about their own insurance system, insurance company. Here in Nigeria, many people don't even in any way accept some of the offers our insurance companies do give to us. Reason because there is no trust. And most times when it is time for the insurance company to step in, if there is any incident, some of these things are not done. And the institutions that manages or probably take care of some of the things, they are nowhere to be found. The point I'm trying to make is this. We have systemic problem in this country. And it's as a result of gap in our revenue and priorities. Even the little we get, how do we prioritize it? You can imagine the National Assembly having such a budget and a ministry like health that covers millions of people. What's the budget and how is this budget funded? The implementation and so many things we can mention.
Okay, all right. So let's go to the phone lines now and take your reactions. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. There's also the issue of federal government issuing a policy banning people from using doctor as a prefix if it is on honorary basis. If you also want to join, I'll talk about that very one. The window is there for you to have a peek on what you want to talk about. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Your name?
My name is Rashidi. I'm calling from Fiji.
Your name is Rashidi?
I'm calling from Fiji.
Go on.
You see that insurance something, eh?
Yes.
You see all of them, some of them, eh? If you deal with them, after everything, if you need their attention, they will disappoint you. But most particularly in this country, our federal government needs to look into those people. That is my contribution.
Okay, so, before you go, are you on health insurance?
I've dealt with them.
So
and I'm so very, very disappointed in them.
Okay, are you saying that their services are not satisfactory?
Yes.
Okay, all right, noted. We're going to expand on this. Hello, good morning. Okay, try again to get across to it. Don't forget that we're live on our Facebook page, Odala Radio 104.7 FM. That's our name on our Facebook page. The video is also there in case if you want to watch the proceedings, or if you are outside the territorial broadcast area, you'll be able to follow us from any part of the world. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Franklin, good morning. Can you hear me here?
Yes.
I'm Dr. Tony speaking. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, welcome on board.
Yeah, Chidi Chukuma joining you from.
Go on.
For the Minister of Power, actions speak louder than voice. We have seen a whole lot of failed promises in Nigeria. So we can't just trust him because of that his emotion. And we need to see action. No need of all this talk for Nigeria. Power is very, very important, and so many people have tried and failed. I don't think that there is anything special about his statement, because we have seen more of that and nothing come out of that. So if actually that they have something to offer, let him start doing it instead of all these promises. That is what Nigeria needs. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Chidi Chukuma. The phone line is 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694. The social media platforms are also there. On Facebook, we are Della Radio 104.7 FM. You can get on that very platform, drop your comment. Don't forget that your name and your location, they are needed. Okay, that is going to help us. Someone talked about the health insurance. That the issue is that some people do enroll, but the services they do offer are not satisfactory. And I know that here in Anambra State, Anambra has health insurance scheme known as NHIA, and it covers a couple of things. Now that we have a new man on board, that means he might need to look into certain kinds of concerns that people have expressed, so that people will be able to have the confidence to go in and be part of it. Yes. Hello, good morning. Hello?
Hello, good morning, Franklin.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Engineer Han is calling from Onitsha.
Okay, go on, engineer.
Thank you, guys. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, you're welcome.
I want to comment on the issue of the listeners of Ireland that said that Honorable Dr. J.P. will no longer be answer doctor. I want to hear the doctor because I don't see the reason for that. All the progress in Nigeria, none of them is too much. That shows that most of them are what is the need of that PhD about? That means most of them that claim to be educated, not even practically educated. Maybe I believe they might have thought they are educated. They need someone to get it, that's why they are talking that way. Nigerians will not give them that chance. It's an abuse of qualification. What is somebody, doctor of philosophy, and somebody obtaining what? Then what the of things? They don't have the problem of Nigeria has to be solved. Let us say that. That's what I want to say.
Okay. I don't know whether Tuntuni got what he said, because what he said wasn't clear to me. I was trying to fathom what he meant, whether he was referring to the honorary doctorate degree or the academic doctorate degree. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my presenter.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning, Dr. Tony Lusande.
You're welcome.
My name is Nyaka from I'm calling from Obunike.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And in the area of government panel people that and doctor honorary doctorate. Why would they not panic? How can someone like Tony Lusande, I know what it takes to be a PhD holder. You know, the night mornings of candles and all the lot of programs and all that. And somebody will just wake up, maybe tomorrow he's made a minister with a first degree. He will go to one university and pay them, and he's made a doctor. He'll be using the same doctor. When Dr. Lusandeki says, I'm Dr. Lusandeki, he will come there and say he's Dr. Musa. Understand? It's very, very wrong. What I know before ability was that you can write it when you want to write your name, but you put it in parentheses. Now what I mean is that you bracket it. But now they don't even put that bracket, they just leave the thing open like that. Understand? Because I've been with a doctor. He said yes, that he is a doctor academically. That the other man is by honor, that he cannot open that bracket. But now in Nigeria, they do anything they want to do. They open the bracket. Right. They don't even know the difference between honorary doctorate degree and the one got from academic, not like the one of Dr. Tony Lusande. So it's very correct. It's very good activity.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. Can you hear me? Hello. Are you there? Okay. I think you have to call back, please. If you call in, once you take your call, please get to respond so that we'll be able to have a good conversation. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Yes. Good morning. Your name?
You're welcome.
My name is Mario Kishuka, calling from Monica.
Mario, go on.
I want to talk on the issue of this insurance of the thing.
Okay.
I must tell the truth, in Nigeria there is nothing like insurance. I mean, talking about health insurance, there is nothing like that. All these things that they are making noise about is just for politics. You are journalist, Frank Chukwuebuka. I really wish maybe you should maybe register for this health insurance of the thing, and you see what is happening there yourself. Until when you are seriously ill, you will know that they are not serious. I have I call it my own personal experience because it happens to a person that I know living in that same street. Her own, she's pregnant, and the thing is that honestly, her own issue she's supposed to undergo yes, that is her own issue. You understand? But I am telling you, the hospital designated for the CS of a thing, because the way they do this normal health issue is, will I call it maternity or will I call it one shop, where they organize nurses. Only the delivery, as in, when you come for easy delivery, that is the one that normally do. But if your case is serious, my brother, my sister, that is when you will know that you are not insured by anybody.
Okay.
The doctor that,
okay, hold on.
Yes, the doctor that they will direct you to. The way the doctor will talk to you, you will be panicking of your life.
Okay.
You understand? When the lady visited that particular hospital that they directed her to, what the doctor was even telling this girl, she was even afraid. In fact, she discontinued with that. She looked for elsewhere to go to undergo that CS.
Okay.
Because the doctor will not tell you something that is strong.
Mario, okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so do you know the health insurance scheme the person was on?
Contributory one, I think yes. Now.
Okay.
Contributory health insurance.
Okay. Let me make some clarifications here.
Okay.
At one point in my life, I used health insurance.
Okay.
And I can tell you authoritatively that when I had my surgery, I didn't pay a kobo. So it depends on.
Is it under government or maybe under private company?
I'm coming to that place. Place. So it depends on the scheme you are running. Take for instance now, Anambra has its own health insurance scheme called NHIA. Yes. There is also the one being run by federal government called NHIS.
All right.
Now,
I'm talking about NHIA.
Now, if you go to some private sectors too, they also have their own HMOs. So all these things are dependent on the premium you pay. There's one now that I'm currently on, for instance. That very one I'm on now, it even covers major surgery. It covers even renal checks and what have you not. So one is this: before you enroll into any health insurance scheme, get to find out what does it cover.
Yes, the one I'm telling you covers pregnancy and antenatal women.
Okay.
Yes, I am sure of what I'm telling you. The only thing I will applaud on that, I am sure, is under NHIA.
Okay.
The routine drugs, the one that they gave to her, that particular one is good. You understand, but at the extent of you delivering, you will be panicking of your life.
Okay.
That is my problem with that.
Okay.
So I don't know whether if the government is hearing me. They should look into that. If you want to maybe run the business with any hospital, please make only the agreement with that hospital, so that they will not be talking as if they are not on a serious business with the government.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Better K. And also let me also add, because from what he said, which personally, because at the point that was last year? Yes, I was doing. There was one report I was doing, trying to assess the quality of healthcare services being given to people who are under health insurance scheme in Anambra State. In as much as I didn't conclude it, but from the ones I was able to find out, I discovered that poor services were the major complaints of people enrolled under that health insurance scheme. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, everyone in the studio.
Yes, good morning. You're welcome on board.
Good day. It's Akpabio cruising the airwaves from Oshiomhole.
You're welcome.
I know you are hearing me, but I'm not hearing you. But,
we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Soludo plus one bar should give us power, electricity. Yes, he is a good governor. I do not know what he is doing with first power. What is the job of first power? Electricity company, which he has promised us going to give us power. I want Professor Soludo, the one governor, to not give us any reason as to why we cannot have 247 electricity in Anambra State. Tony, my dear brother, has just told us that electricity is now on concurrent list. All the while, before it came into being, we are calling on federal government to do this. Now that it is the powers of the state government, so no, they should be number one to give us power without any reason. Whether the amount to do it is humongous or not, you can get partnership from the country that we do it from abroad, being CMS. When they give us 247 power, they will have to manage it for some years and they get back their money. It is not always cash and carry. Don't say it. For Nigeria should use their crude to get what they do not have. All these flimsy reasons should stop. So no one has no reason to give us as to why they fail to give us power.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for joining the conversation. Hello. Okay. You have to try again. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. We're going to get to our Facebook page in a moment to see what they have there.
Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ogaragidi.
Okay, go on. He can hear you.
Okay. Please, I am okay for it now. Again, indeed, I'm calling from Polity.
Okay, go on.
Just to commend you for the analysis of what you presented today. So, just for taking and for my keeping, there was one quotation which Dr. Tony started with, So I would like him to come along with it and the meaning so that I can talk it in my own brain. What he said is Dixon Mian Patu. So I'm waiting to pick it up later. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you for joining. Okay, so from our Facebook page we have Abba Diego Simon following us from Nsubo. Thank you for following. Hero MC Adamu is also following. He says talking about the insurance, the publicity about it is very poor. I am under health insurance because of the benefits. I had to register my old parents too, and they are enjoying it. Master B SJP says Nigerian youth learn the culture of political party meeting in your locality. He posted from Onitsha. And then Christian Umunakwa says President Tinubu is really the cumulative jagaban of Nigeria's post-military politics. And also Francis Prince Winnamani says the incidents of collapse in national grid is quite disturbing and worrisome. The power sector needs to be holistically overhauled in order to get things right. And this one is from Modern Dominic, watching from Japan. Thank you, Modern. I will also say I would like to hear your take on some of the issues once in a while. Then John Number says present realities makes it mandatory for media houses to ensure that they must be careful before they use a label of doctor or professor on any of their guests in the studio. Okay, so let's see if we can just squeeze in one more call before we get to wrap up today. Okay, let's see. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, your name?
My name is Ifeanyi.
Ifeanyi, reaching us from where?
Yeah, I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go on, Mr. Ifeanyi.
Mr. Toby Mbeki. Good morning, sir.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Let me start with the health insurance. I have been a victim. I was sick. I'm a civil servant. My wife is a civil servant. The both of us are registered under ASHA. Every month they take out a stipend from our salaries. Then I got sick. I was taken to Federal FMC on Nature, which was formerly General Hospital. After seeing the doctor, I was admitted. I was there for 2 whole weeks. No doctor came to check on me. Any nurse that comes to the ward where I am, where I was admitted, will look at my folder and say, I am not under Ash. What to play now? No doctor, no nurse. Until my people now saw that I happened to that FMC, that I would die there. They then had to transfer me to a private hospital where I was taken care of. So the health insurance in this country, in this Anambra State, is not working. It's not working at all.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's see if we can also take this very view on our social media platform, because I saw that some other persons made some post. Okay, so this one says Walter Prince says my concern is about those people killed in Plateau State. For how long shall we continue to witness these mass killings? For the honorary award, it's so pathetic that we buy everything in this country, and that's why our youths are no longer interested in studying, because they will tell you that once you have money, you can buy any award you want. For the new Minister of Power, we are tired of promises that are never kept. Instead, turn worse. He is not the first to make such promises. I strongly advise that different states should set up their own power station and generate power on their own. That's a comment from Walter Prince from our Facebook page. The Nekigona says the power holding company is charging us as band A units, but we are unable to get 6 hours light every day. Certainly, the issue of health insurance, people have expressed concern about it. I can only talk about the ones I have enjoyed. I have not used NHIS. Okay, it's now NHIA, no longer NHIS, because the National Health Insurance Agency, that's what they answer now. But I know I have used in private firm, and then for actually I haven't used that, but I've been able to talk with the former. I had different programs with former executive secretary talking about Dr. Simeon, and now we have a new person. But what I have discovered is that many people complain about poor service. Yes, somebody can say the premium, if you compare the premium people do pay and what they get, then you can see the gap there. Now for Anambra we're speaking, there's a new person that has been appointed. That means he has lots of work on his desk to ensure that there's also a channel through which people who are on the health scheme can get back to the government on the kind of service that they get on it.
Well, just like you said earlier on, of course there is a lot of gap. We cannot really say that these gaps do not exist. There are a lot of gaps. But one thing for sure, when I was talking about insurance, I'm looking at insurance as a collective sector in this country. Remember, insurance is regulated by the National Insurance Commission, NICOM, as established by the National Insurance Commission Act of 1997. And if you compare it with that of South Africa, you will understand that in South Africa, their insurance regulation is mainly handled by Prudential Authority and also Financial Sector Conduct Authority, FSCA. And that's why insurance policy, it takes 2 weeks for claims to be redeemed. If you are paying premiums, the maximum it can take in South Africa for claim to be redeemed is 2 weeks, and it must not exceed 2 weeks. But in Nigeria, sometimes claims are not even redeemed. I want to even most the third-party insurance, which is compulsory in our motor vehicle licensing. How many people know that if they jam somebody, let me use our local language, if they jam somebody, if you are up to date with the insurance policies and offers, if you're up to date, that has been covered. It should be covered by the insurance company. If you jam somebody's car, the person you jam the car, your insurance, the one the third party, should cover that. Many people don't even know that. How many times have you seen third party insurance actually redeeming certain claims as a result of such accident? These things are not practicable in Nigeria because sometimes we pay these things just not that the claims onya jam moto na alum ojido onya jam moto say bia lo onya eje lo ya moto, but no more than now not up to date with insurance policy that now go already. Some of these things are not in any way. Okay. Even when they are in Nigeria, I can't say they are not, because sometimes for claims to be redeemed, it takes 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Okay, so but in South Africa, 2 weeks. Then maximum.
Another thing I want to ask people now in the area of health insurance.
But if you talk about health insurance,
there are HMOs that on your own you can go to enroll privately, because the one about government is that government tends to make it more subsidized.
Yeah, of course.
But in many cases, you get to see that the services people get are abysmal.
And let me also point out something before we close up, because we're about to wrap up. Like somebody who said that in FMT, when it was FMC, I said the doctor chop out on insurance. It's a case that must be looked into. How do healthcare professionals attend to somebody covered by such insurance policy? Do they treat the person with maybe content and what have you? The most important thing is, how do we ensure that these things are done? Of course, there are hospitals that are under such cover, not every hospital. And if you go to that hospital, it's expected that you'll be taken seriously and you'll be administered with every form of professionalism. But that is not so in some hospitals that are under this coverage. What could be the problem? Are they not being given what they should be given? Just like you said, new person who is appointed should look into some of these things.
Okay, so on that very note, we end today's conversation. Thank you, Tony, for the analysis. And to every one of you who listened, we quite appreciate all your inputs. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. On this very note, we end today's conversation. We're going to be here tomorrow. My name is Frank Nebuka. Good morning.
Before the bridges came, before the city stretched its arms to the sky, there was a voice carried by the great Niger, whispered in the winds that danced through the Obunike caves, a voice that told the stories of kings, traders, warriors, and dreamers. That voice still speaks. That voice is us. We are Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
From the commercial city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet.